Hey guys, welcome to our new video Q&A session. We're here at Repetitions Personal Training with owner Adam. Thanks for all the questions that you sent through. There was a heap of them. We're not going to get to them all. The ones that we do answer, I hope we answer sufficiently. First one off the bat, from Corey. What supplements and training strategies would you implement to help with DOMs? From the training?
So thanks for the question, Corey. In short, you can't actually beat DOMs, so there's not really much that you can do to prevent them happening. There's small micro tears in the muscle fibers, so after you're doing your resistance training, that is going to occur every time. So things you can do to kind of help them and just kind of relieve that pain a little bit, we have a light active recovery. So if you've trained your legs and your legs are really sore, just go for a 5-10 minute walk the next day and just promote some blood flow to those muscles. Try a warm bath, jump in there and just soak your muscles. You can chuck in some Epsom salts in the bath. Get a light massage and some gentle stretching as well.
For your supplements, Corey, first and foremost, you want to make sure your nutrition's okay. That means adequate calories. If you're not consuming enough, you're not going to be recovering well. Again, this, like Adam said, this isn't going to get rid of DOMs. This is to ensure your recovery is happening, which is going to fast track that reduction in soreness. Second to that, a post-workout recovery supplement. I look at one with at least 30 grams of carbohydrate and at least 30 grams of protein. TR3 by Gentek's probably the way to go as a base recovery supplement for everyone because it's got that equal ratio. If you need a bit more carbohydrate, either because you're trying to put on a bit more muscle mass, you're doing endurance sports, or you have a fast metabolism, then look at just adding some extra carbs or get a protein and carbohydrate supplement with a higher ratio of carbohydrate to protein. Thirdly, I'll look at a branched chain amino acid supplement. Now, if you don't know what amino acids are, they're the building blocks of protein, which means they're the building blocks of your muscle tissue as well. When you're training, your muscle tissue is obviously getting broken down. What taking branched chain amino acids is shown to do is to reduce markers of catabolism, that's muscle tissue degradation or breakdown, and increase markers of anabolism, that's muscle tissue synthesis. So by having branched chain amino acids in your blood and your plasma while you're training, you're going to reduce that muscle breakdown in the first place, which may help with the soreness. So this one's from Paul, and he just wants to know how you train for muscle hypertrophy.
Alright, thanks Paul. So when you're training for muscle hypertrophy, as a general rule, with your reps and sets, you probably aim for 3 to 5 sets. Your rep range should be between about 8 to 15 reps. On your last couple of sets at least, depending on your training age, I'd be pushing it to those sets to failure. So push it so you can't do any more, but still kind of failing between that range of 8 to 15. I like to go most of the time about 10 to 12 reps. With your sets, I'd go aim for like 60 seconds to 2 minutes rest in between those sets. I'd like to add to that as well, just make sure when you're starting your hypertrophy sessions, your first few lifts should always be your compound movement. So go your squats, your bench presses, well before you're doing your bicep curls and your tricep pull downs.
Right, this one's from Kurt, and he wants to know if we have any advice on supplements for pre and during soccer games. So I'm guessing you mean endurance and performance. For performance, pre-workout, I'll look for 3 things. First is creatine. If you're not already taking that every single day, creatine monohydrate, 5 grams a day, I'll take a creatine hydrochloride, about 1 gram, half hour before your game. What creatine is, it's the main energy source for explosive exercise, so anything lasting about 0 to 12 seconds. So I guess to put in a game sense, if you're a winger bombing up and down the wing, you're going to have more explosive energy for every single sprint and more energy reloading in between each sprint. So especially coming to the later stages of the game where you've constantly used your muscle creatine stores to reload that energy, it's going to improve your effort under fatigue. Second one would be beta-alanine. Now beta-alanine converts to a dipeptide in the body called carnosine. Carnosine's a pH buffer, so we might be getting a little bit technical here, but you know that burning sensation you get when you're doing all-out effort for an extended period of time. So say you're sprinting for 60 seconds, you're running around the field, that lactic acid buildup that you get in your legs, that's from excess hydrogen ions. What carnosine does as a pH buffer, it helps disperse that. So it helps you to keep performing at a maximal capacity when that burning sensation comes on, helps get rid of that burning sensation. So that would be another one I'd add, about 3.2 grams of beta-alanine, again, about half hour before you train. Both of those supplements you can take at other times. Beta-alanine you wouldn't want to because it makes you itchy. And just to make it easy, I just go with just half hour before the creatine hydrochloride and the beta-alanine. The third one really depends on the person, but it's caffeine. Now caffeine can enhance endurance, principally because it helps you use more fat for energy and reserves your glycogen stores. Also increases adrenaline, which means increased alertness. The thing is that some people, if they're having too much caffeine, it might actually impede their performance. So assess your tolerance beforehand. As a general rule of thumb for most people, if you're just taking 100, 200 milligrams before a game, so that's 1-2 cups of coffee, either in coffee or as a supplement, that should give you the benefits without giving you the negative adverse effects. Now, during soccer, during your games, completely different kettle of fish, two main things, and again, your pre-workout nutrition should be alright as well, so that's the night before and now talking before the game as well. But during the game itself, you want to be taking carbohydrate at half time. So as you come off, about 30 grams of a carbohydrate supplement in about, depending on what type of carb it is. If it's a complex carbohydrate, you want to dilute it in about 15% to 15%. So that's 15 grams per 100 mils of water. If it's a sugar, you want it about 5 or 6 grams per 100 mils of water. So take that at half time, at least 30-40 grams. That'll make sure you've got available carbohydrate to perform at your maximum. And then if you want, not as important, branched chain amino acids. So that's just going to help prevent muscle breakdown, and it's more important for recovery after the game. So just to summarize, prior to a game, about 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, if you're okay with it, about 3.2 grams of beta-alanine, and about a gram of creatine hydrochloride, or if you're not taking hydrochloride, about 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. During the game, half time, because obviously you're not going to be able to drink it during the first and second half, half time, about 30 to 40 grams of carbohydrate in about, what's that? If it's a complex carb, which it should be, in about 500 to 600 ml of water will be alright. If you're talking about a particular product to use, maybe Dr. Jekyll by ProSups Pre, and that's to be safe with the lower caffeine, and P2P by Gentech for during the game. Freddie, are there any benefits to supplementing fish oil capsules and glucosamine into the mix? And also, what would help build more overall size in the shoulders?
So I'll take the shoulders question.
First.
If you're trying to build more size in your shoulders, train your shoulders. Do your shoulders, hit them twice a week, give them a good rest in between, and just focus on your compound lift. So you're pressing, upright rows, and then finish off with some lateral raises, front raises, that kind of thing.
What kind of rep range for the pressing the big compounds?
So again, if you're trying to build size in your shoulders, hypertrophy range, 8 to 15 reps. I'll have to go about 10 to 12.
Fish oil and the glucosamine. I'm guessing you mean for joint health. Fish oil is going to have many benefits outside just improving joint health. Fish oil reduces overall systemic inflammation, principally by correcting the balance of omega-3s and omega-6s. Most people have a higher intake of omega-6 to omega-3 in their diet. The issue with that is that omega-6 is pro-inflammatory, omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. Fish oil is going to correct that balance and reduce systemic inflammation, which is going to help your joints. Glucosamine doesn't have the same amount of research around it. There's a bit of evidence to show that it slightly helps with pain in the joints. The theory is that it's going to help the amount of collagen in your joints. I mean, especially with something like cartilage, there's no real way to grow cartilage without surgery. And the only two ways for surgery are a cartilage graft or, with even less research, stem cells. And I don't think either of them are covered at the moment, like by rebates. Look, if you're going to use it, take a sulfate and about 2 to 3 grams a day, split up into 3 doses, and it's going to have minor benefits. But in terms of a staple, your fish oil is always your staple. Depending on what else you're using, if you're not using any other supplements, go and use the glucosamine sulfate. But if you're looking at what's essential, your fish oil is definitely much more of an essential. Someone from Stefan, I'm guessing is how you pronounce it, sorry I forgot that wrong, mate. Does creatine cause water retention and bloating? Yeah, so it's a common question that's been around for a very long time in regards to creatine supplementation. There is a tiny bit of research on people that have adverse side effects in the tummy. They get a little bit upset by it, but it's definitely not the majority. If you're feeling like that you are an anomaly. Creatine, the only two supplements that have been probably more extensively, actually they're not. Creatine is probably the most extensively studied supplement. It's been studied since the early 80s. Been proven time and time again, beyond a doubt, that it improves performance, it's safe, and there's no real adverse side effects. Water retention, the myth behind that kind of started because water is stored with creatine in the muscle cell. But again, it's in the cell itself. It's not going to be some sort of water that's under your skin, making you look puffy and stuff. And I mean, if it's for a sport where you're looking at weighing up whether the extra weight gain is gonna, if the performance benefits are gonna be worth it if you're gonna get the excess weight gain. Again, been proven beyond a doubt that regardless of even if you do put on a little bit of weight with it, the performance benefits are going to outweigh that. So I don't think I've ever seen someone who's worth listening to speak a bad word about creatine when it comes to muscle gain or performance. Next one's from Samuel. Something I've read mixed opinions on: is it better to train on an empty stomach in order to burn more fat? Some people say fasted cardio targets stubborn fat cells, and others say it doesn't matter, but you can burn your new muscle cells that are used as energy. Right, so it's going to need a pretty complex answer. If you're doing cardio to burn body fat, you would look at doing high intensity cardio. The idea of that being that you want to create an oxygen debt and increase your fat burning throughout the rest of the day. That being the case, don't look at the cardio as a way to burn fat at that particular time. You're just increasing your metabolic output and the amount of calories your body's burning throughout the day. For that reason, I mean, the main thing you want to be looking at is how do I increase my performance during this high intensity cardio? How do you make sure your performance is okay? Well, you got to make sure you're eating sufficient calories. What do you tell your clients, especially if they're training early morning?
So with our clients, if they're training early morning, we like to recommend they just have a little bit more carbohydrates the night before. If you're getting up at 5 a.m. to train, it's unrealistic you're going to wake up at 3:30 and have a meal with carbohydrates. So if you just load up a little bit more in your dinner the night before, and that way you have sufficient energy to train, put in 110% the next day.
Yeah, the idea is to make sure that you're still performing at your maximal capacity. If you're going to get it fasted and you're going to do a half-hour session, you're going to be burning less calories. So in terms of performance, like if you're looking at, how to make sure an athlete is performing at their maximum, same thing. If you're waking up early, you don't want to have food in your guts because you're going to be performing, lower than your peak because you're going to have GI discomfort. So the idea is just to make sure your storage capacity, your petrol tank is completely loaded. So that's either having a decent amount of carbohydrate the night before, or if you've got a little bit of time before you start training, have a meal that's low in fat, low in fiber, a little bit high in carbohydrate, moderate amount of protein in the morning before you train, and that way your glycogen stores are going to be fully loaded, ready to train at maximal capacity. But yeah, in terms of making sure you don't have food in your system to go and do low intensity cardio to target burning body fat, it's just a waste of time. And the second part of that question, you can burn your new muscle cells. If you're doing high intensity cardio, you're not going to start tapping into your muscle stores to turn protein into carbohydrate for energy. Your body really only starts doing that after you start training for an extended period of time. Another reason to do high intensity training, but a reason against, if getting up early in the morning, not eating, doing 2 hours of fasted cardio, that's when you're really going to start breaking down muscle tissue. So yeah, like Adam said, either eat the night before if you can't eat in the morning, and just make sure that your storage tank, your petrol tank's fully loaded to make sure you're performing at your maximum for the time you are going to train. And that's the best way to turn your body into a fat burning machine instead of just trying to burn fat while you're training. So I've torn my left ACL and meniscus, and I'm out in 2 weeks post-op. My question is, when someone is injured and unable to train but still trying to lose weight, is it okay to use supplements and not train to boost protein but stay low in carbohydrate? Or should you just use whole foods and keep calories low? I'm really at a loss. Well, I feel sorry for interrupting when I say I know what it's like to be in that post-operation period. Yeah, it's a tough one. One thing you're going to have to expect is you have to expect that your overall calorie expenditure is going to go down, obviously, because you're not doing any exercise. If you're 2 weeks post-op, ideally you'd actually want to be starting to do some rehabilitation with the physio soon, which is, it's obviously going to start real light, but it will increase your energy expenditure. In terms of whether you need supplements or not, if you're getting adequate carbohydrate, adequate protein from your diet, then you're not going to need a protein or carbohydrate supplement until you start doing some really intensive training. That's going to, you're going to be a few months away from that at the moment. In terms of trying to keep weight down, it's hard because your mental health can also suffer as well, and also your motivation. But try and stay a little motivated. It's probably easier said than done. Monitor, stay consistent with your calorie intake. You know, don't track it to the dot, but have a look at how much you're eating. Realize that you're going to need to eat less than what you were before, probably about 1,000 to 2,000 kilojoules less a day, and just look at how much you're eating. In terms of supplements to help your recovery, get on the fish oils, make sure you're staying away from high inflammatory foods.
Also, I just want to add to that. So once you've seen your physio, have a chat to them, see what exercises you can and cannot do. You might, if it's an ACL injury, you might be able to jump on a stationary bike and just do some light riding like that. That way you can increase your calorie expenditure for the day. It'll help with your mental state, and then it'll help with your fat loss as well.
Yeah, and again, this is all obviously this isn't going to happen 2 weeks post-op. You've got to get to that certain stage of recovery when you can start doing that. But even then, as soon as you're allowed, check with the physio, but start doing some upper body exercises. Just anything that's just going to help you get moving, release those endorphins, make you feel like you're achieving something. Because by the looks of it, what you said, you've lost a fair bit of weight already. You want to keep it off. Anything that's going to keep that motivation up and allow you to then, you know, keep tracking your food intake as well, is going to help. And just like I said earlier, just any kind of supplements are going to help that recovery. Again, you probably don't need the protein, the carbohydrate, those kind of things, but fish oils and any kind of vitamins and minerals that you might be deficient in, I'd jump on them too.
Just to finish off, guys, if you want to get great results, the main thing is be consistent, stay focused, work towards your goals, and just train hard.
Yeah, and if you have any other questions, just drop them in the comment section below. We'll do another one of these in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get to more of the ones that we got last week as well. Thanks, guys.